Live from Lincoln and broadcasting across the state of Nebraska, it's the Average Joe Sports Show. This is the place for Husker sports with the biggest names, the best interviews, and all the inside scoops.
I got a front row seat with a big tub of buttered popcorn and a greasy half-live chicken leg.
Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Welcome to it, weekend editions here with the Average Joe Sports Show. Elijah Herbel, the pride of Fairbury's Bill Doleman, Chris Schmidt. We'll have Mark Kraynak along shortly, and we'll catch up. Brandon Vogel going to join us from Counter Reed. The Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, back at it, as we'll spend some time with Sharpie around 8:30. It is cold, it is Arctic, and it is all sorts of basketball today with Nebraska and Minnesota as the Huskers and Gophers get going. Kraynak has it going. I mean, we somehow none of us are wearing stocking hats this morning.
Oh, see?
But Kraynak says, you know what? It is absolutely stocking hat weather. We could have all gone South Park today, but Kraynak, we should have got the memo from you. I was looking for one, and I was like, hey, you know what? They're back in the bedroom. And, I've already woken the lovely wife up once with an early alarm clock on a Saturday. So I dare not go in there again unarmed. So,
I thought last time it was the other way around. Y'all were all stocking hats and I wasn't. So I'm like, okay, I'll come prepared this time. And then you totally abandoned me. So, okay. See how that goes.
Doleman, you've got to have an Olympic stocking hat you can rock.
Oh, I got a million cross country biathlon toques that I could pull out of some drawer, but
all right,
yeah, didn't need it in the house though.
Elijah, you are getting the gear up and pack up for the roadie to Ann Arbor for Tuesday's matchup,
and that was the only reason I didn't wear a beanie. My favorite beanie is already packed away, but I was the only person who actually had to brave the elements this morning. Let it be known.
It's fair.
I'm the one who left my house and to make it to the station, and yeah, still no beanie for me because it's packed away, and I decided it could just remain there.
Can we talk about this Ann Arbor trip? What's going on here? So it's a Tuesday.
It does seem rather arbitrary.
It does. It's a little but it's
kind of potentially big.
Yeah, is it because it's like, hey, it's two top 5 teams potentially. And one of those is Nebraska, and that's never going to happen again. And so I want to witness it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Is that it? Okay.
My uncle's got season tickets here in Lincoln and had that one circled for a couple weeks now and said, you want a road trip up there? And we kind of made the decision. First off, didn't want to miss Conference Championship Sunday. AFC and NFC, like maybe that's something to listen to, but I'd rather sit down and watch it. We had a chance to listen to Nebraska, Minnesota, taking up a few hours to drive today. And by the time you leave on Monday, I mean, you're missing work anyway if you're going to leave on Mondays. You might as well get a couple days in Ann Arbor and experience the city a little bit. So that was kind of the plan. And then, go see a potential top 5 matchup with this Husker basketball team, assuming they can get the job done today, which is a big assumption to make.
I know, 10, 11-hour drive for what? What is that?
About 10 and a half.
10 and a half. Okay.
Kraynak,
I've done worse.
Yeah.
Great. Kraynak, you, as you were the captain of the Notre Dame road trip ship back in 2000, we took your family's minivan.
It's a terrible captain. Yeah.
No, you were fine. We just ended up going into Amish country for a bit, but that worked out okay.
We camped out there, Elkhart, Indiana, home of Jamar Johnson.
There's no statue of Jamar, but there were a lot of buggies.
Yeah. But
There
were literally.
Yeah,
we were behind horse and buggies on highways.
We about sideswiped one. But
I was like, put on your blink. Oh, wait. They don't have.
But
because they don't believe
you took us through Ann Arbor. That's the only time I've been to Ann Arbor.
I see. I might have been asleep at that point, and one of our other co-captains was driving because I don't remember that at all.
You drove through Ann Arbor. You drove through Ann Arbor, Michigan, to get to Notre Dame.
That doesn't sound right.
I think one of us
sounds right.
Not me, but one of the van members wanted to go relieve himself near the Michigan Stadium, or maybe on the stadium.
Well, okay, that's justifiable, but it does seem a bit out of the way.
That doesn't seem right. That might have been another. I don't know.
Didn't we pick up somebody though in Chicago for the
Still
airport?
seems out of the way.
I don't think so. Maybe though.
Where we dropped somebody? I don't know. That was a blur. But it was awesome.
You might have been confusing that with one of your mini trips to. I don't know. You've been to Indianapolis a couple times. You've been to.
Never driven.
North Dakota a couple times. You've been to.
You ever been to Detroit?
Oh yeah.
See,
I went to Detroit on purpose.
It's basically Detroit.
Is that where the urination on the Michigan Stadium happened?
No.
I don't think it would have been the Notre Dame trip, unless I might have been passed out.
Like we're just trying to dive back into
this was on the way to.
But that would have been like
it doesn't matter if it's to or from, it's still like way out of the way, bro.
Well,
yeah,
we almost ended up in Pennsylvania, Kraynak, because we went the wrong way the next morning.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
because that would have been. I don't know.
Then you ran into a fat security guard that said the park's closed.
The Moose should have told you.
I do remember we went the wrong way at one point. This is pre, even MapQuest.
This is the 2000s.
Yeah, this is like we had to print out the thing. This is
Crouch in overtime versus the Irish. This is Husker Nation taking over Notre Dame.
U.S. I just want to see where exactly.
I'm fairly certain that's the only time I've been through Ann Arbor, man. And I never volunteered to drive because, let's just be honest, that's safe for everybody.
I mean, South Bend's in Indiana, and so almost being in Pennsylvania would have meant that like we skipped right through Ohio. It
got ugly.
I don't think that's what.
Wow.
I think there's some misremembering happened here on both sides. My side, your side.
You remember Linebacker's Bar, don't you?
I do remember that.
Yeah.
We do remember that.
We both remember that for a little while.
Okay, but before we get to Ann Arbor, does Nebraska make it into that game undefeated? That's the question. How much does this
make you,
stress
Elijah, for reeling us back in between?
I don't remember.
Dude, where's my car? Moments here.
I know. Oh,
I think, guys, Frager's huge, but this team's just had a knack.
I want to pull out the map here real quick just to see.
Bill Doleman, the professor, is always ready.
Yeah, so point us out, Bill, what we're talking about here. So
okay,
now I don't know where South Bend is in Indiana. Okay. Like I could not point that out, so I'll trust you there.
South Bend is right here.
It's like North Central. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Ann Arbor, Michigan, is over here, further east and north.
Yeah.
South Bend, Lincoln, South Bend, Ann Arbor.
And then Pennsylvania.
This is Pennsylvania.
Oh, we didn't go to Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, let's. I
think we have our new screenshot. I was going to say, I think we have our new thumbnail. Where's Nebraska playing today, Bill? Show us.
Wrong finger, Bill. Wrong finger.
Where's Minneapolis? That's actually a great new feature that we should do.
Oh yeah, Bill's going to pull the map out. Where's Nebraska today, Bill?
Let's test all of our guest geography skills.
Have you seen some of these podcasts where they have like maps, like digital ones, and there's like
a little windy.
They animate where we're talking about. We just got Bill pointing at a physical map. We're here.
So there's Lincoln, right?
Yep.
This is Minnesota. So by Schmidty's, if you're going to go with Schmidty, you're going to stop off here in Sabetha, Kansas. Okay. And once you get to Sabetha, you make a left toward Colorado.
We're going to say hi to Pueblo.
And eventually you'll get here. You're welcome.
That's why I make, Bill always, when we go to Minneapolis, he's like, dude, I'm driving. Now I get it.
Schmidty always complains about my driving skills out of the mountains in Boulder a couple years ago whenever we were out there.
Like a Red Baron, dude. You had a scarf on and goggles and leather.
At least we didn't end up in
Wyoming.
Wyoming.
We're going down a mountain. 60-degree angle, and I didn't know the old Impala could move that quick.
It's a helpless feeling when someone else is driving, right? Yeah.
The roads were empty.
Yeah.
Which means no one would have been there to witness you tumbling down the mountain, right?
We're in a race for time to get the pregame on at 7 a.m. Boulder time.
But as Nebraska tries to climb the mountain, basketball.
I need to check where Smith, Kansas is real quick.
Yeah, I believe it's by Goodland or Highland.
So let's talk hoops here. Let's talk hoops for a moment.
Yeah. What's up with Frank?
Okay, I swear we were in Ann Arbor.
Carry on, my wayward son.
I believe you.
Maybe on the way home, because we had to drop your boy Finley off at the Chicago airport.
We did?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a detour because some of us almost was late for Monday morning class that Monday morning after the Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was class. That was before you could do online classes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brendan Vogel wants no part of map study or MapQuest this morning.
Yeah. Brandon is in Chattanooga.
Is that the route you took? You just stop by Albuquerque on the way there.
Right. Yeah. We also, my buddy and I, and the late great Jack Pierce, made the drive from Lincoln to South Bend for that 2001 game. I assume you're talking about 2000, or was it 2000?
2000,
because the following year they came back.
Yeah. So we were also on those same highways. We chose a different route. Because Nebraska was in the Big 12 at that time, we swung down to Austin and did a horns down on our way to South Bend, and then over to Clemson, ran down the hill. We took the opportunity, since it was all on the way, before getting to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm. It makes total sense.
That
by Toronto, Sandro DeAngelis' hometown.
Yeah.
Patrick Kabongo got to pay tribute.
Was collectively every Husker fan just drunk for this entire trip? Is that the recollections going on?
Well, here's the deal. When we pulled up, like right when we parked, and I think it was an 11 a.m. kick, right? It was an early kick.
Might have been noon.
Yeah,
Their
something
time.
like it. Well, it felt early.
Well, that's because we didn't get to bed till 5 a.m. But yeah,
probably. So yeah, we roll up on 2 hours sleep, and right when we park, like there was like a Notre Dame booster, because it's just a huge parking lot, right? A huge like grass parking lot, and he just has a pillowcase full of those airplane bottles, the little shooters, like a pillowcase just full of them, like trick or treating style, like. He was like, "Here you go, guy. You guys want some?" Like, sure. so that's how we started the morning. Yeah.
We parked next to Notre Dame Michigan couple that fed us. It was incredible.
I think that might have been the same pillowcase guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You may have been focused on the food at that time. Who knows? Yeah. If you're listening out there, thanks. But yeah.
And the couple kind of looked like Margot and what's the guy's name from Christmas Vacation? Todd and Margot, the neighbors.
Yeah.
They kind of reminded me of them, but they were much nicer.
Yeah, they were very friendly. They nourished us, and they had no reason to.
With airplane bottles of Smirnoff.
Well, they didn't have a choice. There weren't that many fellow Notre Dame fans there.
That's fair.
You take it over. We saw Bob Davie. Remember, we walked right by him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now I got to ask, before we get to basketball, what did you spend, Vogues, on tickets? Kraynak, what did you spend
on what? On which?
For the Notre Dame Nebraska tickets?
Oh,
give me.
I don't even remember.
Takeover was real.
Yeah,
Takeover was real. I ended up getting a Regents seats, which were incredible. But it was like,
brag.
Well, it was like $450.
Oh,
was it a Notre Dame Regent that sold its tickets?
It was his daughter or something. I don't know. But it point is I ran into a family friend that had like 4 together. They were just willing to give me after I dropped the, what it was going to cost me to retake, Algebra 201. So,
could you imagine? We somehow reconnected too, because this is like pre-cell phone times. The rest of us were just up in the corner somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think it was 400. It was probably like 80 or something. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. So you have no clue, Vogues, what you spent? Jack probably got.
I was going to say, I don't know.
Incredible seats.
I was going to say, I don't know that I spent anything. That might have been a Jack Pierce special. All I had to do was come along for the ride and help pay for gas.
That's beautiful.
God, that would have been the best ever to go on a roadie with him. You too, Kraynak. I love you, but
we just need to bring somebody who's a responsible mapsman.
Doleman on the next roadie. So, Vogues, as we find our way to Minneapolis, and Elijah packs the family truckster for Ann Arbor. How we feeling about hoops this morning? Nebraska 5.5-point favorite. Do you think Garcia and Jacobson are enough to combine for what Frager usually gives, or how do you see this thing going? I know Minnesota wants to go slower today.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I think Nebraska's big edge here is defensively. Like, Minnesota's above average offensively, but maybe like middle third nationally, somewhere around there, I would say, in terms of offensive efficiency. So if Nebraska can maintain the kind of defensive intensity and pressure it's had, that might be the biggest way to replace a little bit of what you might not have without Frager. But I mean, Nebraska's done such a good job of just having different guys step up that I do think they'll be okay. Like 5.5 on the road at Minnesota feels a little bit steep for me from that perspective. But I don't go into this game thinking, oh, Nebraska, this is a trap in waiting.
How much of it too, Brandon, and you having probably played the most basketball out of anybody on this here 5-box podcast, how much of it is Nebraska possession by possession coming with a certain intensity level that it really doesn't relent? It's almost like Nebraska's run game of old in football, where it's just like, how much of this is just kind of wearing the other team out?
It's a big part of it. And I think that Washington game this week was a good example of that. Nebraska got a bit of a lead in the first half, and Washington chipped away at it a couple times. But Nebraska is able to kind of ratchet that up when, maybe you have a possession or two where you give up an easy bucket and you're a little bit, okay, we got to reset here. But one of their features is they typically do reset. And I think it is really kind of, use a baseball term, a little bit of station to station of they're just winning the majority of possessions. And we've seen them blow some teams out too, particularly at home. When you have a hot shooting night, you can do that. But when you're more typical, when you're more average from a shooting perspective, that's kind of Nebraska's power at this point, is they just execute at a high level and win the majority of possessions, no different than it would be in football.
Yeah, because in that game in particular, you saw Washington kind of match the intensity level for a while, and you're like, oh, this might be a fight.
Yeah.
At some point, you see them kind of fall back, right?
And they really hit Nebraska on the glass too, which I think is probably like the way to beat them. Like, one of these days where Nebraska gives up, more offensive rebounds than it typically does, it's probably going to be too much to overcome. But they were able to in that game against the Washington team. That's towards the bottom of the Big Ten, to be fair. But I was pretty impressed with what Washington put out there, and Nebraska answered the call yet again.
Does anybody know Frager, by the way? Because it's his ankle and he folded it under. I don't know if any of y'all have ever experienced that, but I did that in my early 40s, and it put me on the shelf for like 5 months. Right, it is brutal. to where the doctor's like, you actually would have been better off breaking something than stretching and straining every single ligament in your foot, right? So keep your eye on that one. But Was he always wearing that leg brace on the other leg? And I just didn't notice it before. You notice how he had that long.
He has this
kind of
season. I don't
sleeve?
remember it being part of the wardrobe in high school, but he's had,
Maybe I just didn't notice.
as he put it with the World Herald, he has glass ankles, is what he called them.
Okay.
So he's had some ankle issues. He tweaked it before the Oklahoma game, played 8 minutes, but didn't really contribute in the OU game. And Nebraska, I'll say this, and this is maybe wishful thinking for Nebraska basketball fans, considering what he's grown into, right? Where he's averaging 23 minutes, 12 points, shooting about 40% from three, and then is really, really good defensively. He is your spark. He is your athleticism, right? Off the bench to slash and get to the rim. So there's all of those important factors from Frager. But, he didn't really do much offensively against Illinois, and that was Garcia's big game. So Nebraska has had, probably their best win is a game that there wasn't a high level of offensive performance from Frager. So this team's found different ways, as you put it down, Vogues, to get it handled, and it's going to come down to, all right, you're going to have two guys carry the load. You're going to have a first half of Rank. You're going to have a second half of Price. Then you get a full game of Jamarcus, right? Like you saw against Illinois. How does that shake out tonight? Who are the candidates? Did I just name the three? Or is this a situation where Garcia goes for 11 and 11? Is it a situation where Price goes for 40? Is Rink back from an efficiency standpoint? He's always going to give you the rebounds and hustles. Does Sam go for a 20 spot? I mean,
well, don't forget Buchton Gel is also kind of your spark that can give you 7 points and 14 rebounds, or 14 points and 7 rebounds, and really doesn't turn his motor off. And I don't think we discount Jacobson anymore either. I mean, when somebody stepped up in the Crown, and let's face it, there's no greater pressure in sports than trying to win the Crown. And, Jacobson stepped up and proved then.
Where do they play the Crown, Bill?
At Vegas, and which is just south of
Are you going to grab the map again?
Tucson, But Jacobson, the way he played out in Las Vegas was, we got to make sure we keep this guy and he doesn't get NIL money from someplace else. It was critical that they kept him on board, and he hasn't relented from what he did out there all season long. He's been pretty serviceable, reliable. He's not going to get you a lot of points, but if he goes from 4 to 7 or 8 points and plays the way he plays, he and Buchton Gel and Sam are the defensive keys, really, because they're the ones who provide the energy. And I've said this before, defense in basketball is like the option in football. Nobody else wants to do it. Nobody else wants to play it. But if you can play defense for, not 40 minutes of hell like Nolan Richardson's teams did, but if you make your opponent uncomfortable for 35 at the 40, you're going to give yourself a chance to win, even if it's against an athletic team like Michigan, and who wants to score in the 80s. And Nebraska is comfortable scoring in the 60s and making a game like that. Same thing will be applicable today up in Minnesota. Nebraska averages 82. They average 73. If it's a 72-62 game, that's probably a Nebraska win. The only team that's going to beat Nebraska, as I see it, well, a couple. One that's just overly athletic, and they're going to beat Nebraska up and down the floor. And Nebraska is not going to be able to set up its defense and make teams shoot threes. The other one's going to be that does shoot threes, and they just don't miss that day. They're going to shoot 60+% from the floor, 40+% from three, and they're just going to outshoot Nebraska and win. That's what's going to beat Nebraska.
And I don't necessarily think Minnesota fits the bill of either of those two things that you just laid out. Maybe I'm wrong, and they do shoot 50% from three, 65% from the field, and they win. And that can happen to anyone in college basketball. You've seen 16 seeds upset 1 seeds with that same formula, but Minnesota's not the team that's going to beat you up and down the floor. They're not going to out-athlete you. So I worry less about the Frager injury on a day like today. I think you can replace him in the aggregate But whenever you look ahead to Michigan, the athleticism that they bring, the talent that they bring, that feels like a game where you might miss him greatly. And we'll see. I said yesterday, I'm pretty confident you won't see him at all today. I would put the Michigan game, just based on what I'm hearing out of that facility, as maybe as questionable. He feels like he's been improving at a rapid pace. We'll see if that continues, because ankle injuries, they're fickle. As Mark said, sometimes something minor like a twisted ankle puts you out for months. Other times it hurts real bad night of, and then 2 days later you're up and walking around and feeling pretty good. I don't pretend to understand the recovery from ankle injuries, because you never quite seem to understand. It's not a linear process with those things, but we'll see. It sounds like it's going to be sooner rather than later for Frager.
Some of us are still reeling from ankle injuries.
Yeah. By the way, dry needling really helps the recovery there. Just a little tip from Dr. Mark over here. When you look at the minutes, Brandon, that need to be replaced, and Frager's been 22 minutes a game, but that's been higher recently. I still have Jared Garcia penciled as now he hasn't shot it super well this year, but he's a really productive. He's almost the equivalent of a Havoc guy, I guess. Gets to the line a lot.
Can he play defensive line?
Rebounds a lot. Honestly, that would be amazing. But do you think it's a case of, okay, we're just going to boost our minutes for Jacobson? Or is it like, no, we're going to kind of double Garcia's minutes? And it changes a little bit of the fabric of your team when you replace a offensive focused Frager with somebody like Garcia. How do you think Fred's going to account for the minutes?
I think you boost both of them, and you hope maybe one shows early on that, okay, they're on today, because in terms of minutes, I think that's the most reasonable way to do it. I mean, Frager was at basically about 13 points a game, just short of that, 12 something. So I mean, that part of it, when you look at it from a points perspective, you need a couple of guys to be 4 points over their season average, and you're right there. And I think, if Garcia and Jacobson play well, not even they don't need to have their best game, but just realize the moment, realize you're playing a little bit shorthanded, and look that way. I think those two are probably the top candidates to help you there. But Chris just dropped off. But when you think about it from a points perspective, like anybody kind of having a good day, Sanford or Rink Mast, it helps you. It helps you cover that piece up. And as Bill noted, like this Minnesota team isn't one that comes in scoring a ton of points or planning to score a ton of points. So all those things, I think, combined together make me think Nebraska should be. I don't think we'll get to the end of this if they lose to Minnesota, which they could, and say, well, if they'd had Frager, they would have won that.
Yeah. But by the way, just looking at some of the numbers, it's interesting with Garcia. So he's 10th on the team in minutes. He's only averaging like 8 per game. He's second on the team in total blocks. Right? He's got 9 and just playing like 8 minutes a game. His shooting's lower than most, but also 2.5 boards over 8 minutes. So extrapolate that out to give him 24 minutes. Do the math. He's giving you 7.5 boards, right? Is there a chance that with his increased production, Nebraska even doubles down a little bit more defensively? Because when you just look at that straight up swap, Frager for Garcia, you obviously lose offense, but it's kind of like you gain some defense.
Yeah, I think you could. And I think that's probably, that's like been Nebraska's best foot forward all season. And I think it's even more important to highlight that on the road. It becomes even more important when you're down a guy. And against a team that scores 10 fewer points per game than you do, you're more comfortable being like, okay, if they're at 74 on average, let's hold them to to 60 or 65 or whatever it might be. And you'd be confident in your offense's ability, even if it gets pulled down a little bit in that sort of game, playing somebody like Garcia more minutes than you would typically. You can live with it. So I think that the scale here works for Nebraska.
Maybe give some minutes to somebody else too. Maybe Kendall Blue gets some minutes, Maybe somebody else gets 5 to 8,
He just hasn't looked comfortable.
No.
Right? It feels like the game's like a little fast for him right now, even though he had, he handled the ball a lot in his last stop. But he just, I don't know. I haven't seen him look like he even feels like he belongs.
Well, and that was something we kind of talked about with Jeff Smith yesterday. I asked that question, is this potentially seeing him come out, because we had heard good things about him through the offseason, had seen good things through the previous stops. And he just said essentially, maybe, but I'm not sure this is the time in the season where you're going to try to get some guy comfortable that hasn't been comfortable thus far. You're not going to try to experiment around too much with this upcoming stretch that you have.
Yeah. He strikes me as a guy that's used to having the ball a lot, and he's had to switch that role to where it's like, no, you just might get a touch of possession, right? Like it's a little bit different of his role, and he hasn't seemed to have settled in yet. But by the way, I know we talked about this a little last week, but is there any other team in the recent, I don't know, last 10, 15 years where Garcia is not a starter? I just can't imagine him in some of the teams that Nebraska's trotted out. It's just pretty amazing to me that level of talent is truly a bench warmer that gets just spot minutes.
Yeah, I don't think so. When you look through kind of the recent past, like going back to just when I started writing about and covering Nebraska basketball in 2012, think back on some of those teams, you'd be like, oh yeah, this guy probably would have been a 12 or 13 point a game guy now, like with where he's at.
Yeah.
And Nebraska, to Hoiberg's credit, and towards, really the entire staff's credit in terms of roster building, is at a spot where it can maximize his upside and minimize his downside. And it feels like a luxury.
Brendan Vogel with his counterread, counterread.com. Vogues, just real quick on the football front. What's your reaction to Dabo going nuclear yesterday?
Well, it's kind of his thing, being the cranky old man of college football, shaking his fist at all of the change. And a lot of people feel similarly to him. I'm not trying to take a jab there. And I mean, if you got it on good authority, and these coaches do, of course, that there's some like serious tampering going on, like it's just, we're at a point with college football where it's like, okay, there's so many things happening that are a challenge, are new, are challenging because they're new. But this is one where like the rules are pretty clear on this. So is anybody going to enforce them? It's like, can we do one thing? We already know like the NIL space is crazy. The transfer space is crazy, but can we at least do the one thing of like, let it be crazy, but let it be crazy on the day it's allowed to be crazy. And of course it's no, is the answer, which, if you really get into it, and before payments were above ground, so to speak, or I guess allowed, they're not above ground because nobody really knows anything that's going on there. Like this stuff happened then too, but it's just now you're fighting a war on so many fronts. So I'm not often sympathetic to Dabo's point of view on things, but in this one, I was like, yeah, I get it, dude.
You guys are all missing the big story here. Okay. We just watched Carson Beck play in the national championship game in his 7th year of college football, where just days prior to that, he said, look, I graduated a couple of years ago. I spend all my time at home in the facility. I don't go to class. You're missing the story here. Dabo got up there and said that this linebacker was in class when he got at 8 o'clock in the morning when he got the text message about being bought out. I mean, I think it's just wonderful that we still have student athletes, at least at Clemson, that this guy shows up and he's in class getting tampered with.
That's so good. That's so good.
Walter asked a good question, and Bill can point to where Baton Rouge is on the map and how you get there. But how's LSU coming up with all this money for players? They're paying 3 different head coaches $2.2 million a month.
There's some old money down there in Louisiana. There's some old money.
Is it Bubba Gump shrimping money? Is it tobacco money? I mean, where's LSU?
Well, that's what
it's Raising Cane's money, Chris.
Yeah,
clearly.
Yeah, he's a big part of it.
Based on Junior and his adventures in high school, he's probably funded a quarterback down at
Marucci's from down that way too. I wonder if they have anything to do with it.
Once they said we've got like this salary cap of $20 million or whatever it was, which is not a salary cap. That's just a pool of money that they got from some other place. Then they went back into the archives of SEC under the table playbooks, dusted off the how do we get Happy Meals to these guys so we can pay them under the table again? Right.
Yeah.
I know that there's the College Sports Commission that is supposedly looking at NIL deals as to whether they're legit or not. The Happy Handshake and the Happy Meal have always been going on. They're just doing it again. It's just look the other way at NIL, look the other way at this $20 million settlement money and all that stuff. And all you got to do is find some people that are willing to go back into the dark rooms, and pay guys with paper bags. It's as simple as that. They're still paying money under the table.
How much money do you think Tay Ellis and Trey Taylor are getting paid while they attend Millard South? And we think a lot of people have it tough. Imagine being the Johnny Tryhard cornerback at Millard West who just heard about this. Like, well, you're going to have some stuff on tape. All right. God.
Johnny Tryhard. I love it.
If you're a competitor, think about the opportunity for that Millard West cornerback. He can get himself an offer if he goes out there and plays well. Imagine picking off Trey Taylor and getting that offer to, I don't know, Midland or something.
What is the going market for what's Benson paying for a good transfer cornerback these days?
Not enough, brother.
Let's get to that though. Brandon, your thoughts on that development. Trey Taylor, Nebraska's quarterback commit for 2027, relocating to Lincoln, attending and playing football for Millard South, and then his prize receiver recruit from Texas, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, also relocating, going to go to Millard South. Those might not be the only two. Who knows? Yeah. Your thoughts on that situation, which is really unprecedented.
It is. It kind of still blows my mind a little bit. I don't think it's definitely not bad for the University of Nebraska football. And that news kind of comes at a key moment where in an off season where we saw them lose their offensive coordinator or their special teams coordinator, saw the 2-year starter at quarterback leave. Here are some guys that are like, no, we're in. Like, we want to be there now. We still got to play this pesky high school football season. But we are in on what's happening in Nebraska. So that's good. In almost every other way, though, it feels bad to me. Like, I don't like it for the kids. They're making the choice, so they can, of course, do what they want. But you can commute from Lincoln to Omaha every day, that's like 90 minutes of your day that are just gone 5 days a week.
Do they not know?
You don't actually quicker.
Do they not know where Lincoln and Millard are?
Oh, no. So I don't know. Like, every other angle of it, like, makes me a little bit nervous for all involved. And I wrote this on Thursday. Like, this is good. Like I said, I think it's good from Nebraska's perspective. But it also, like, I think ups the ante a little bit on 2026 because, hey, that season goes south. Do you want to lose guys that were so in right now in January that they're going to move here and play their final high school football seasons? hopefully Nebraska doesn't have to find out.
What? Okay. I don't know enough about this. I'm hoping you all do. The transfer portal is closed, right? That means no one can go in it, or nobody can pick a new school, or both. What does that mean exactly? Do we know?
No new entries, but anybody who's in there can find a place to play up till the season starts.
Okay,
and a school to go to.
That's what I was. That's what I was wondering. So there's a potential there that Nebraska isn't done, because there could be guys that choose them. Because I was just looking up, like, where did Keona Davis end up, and he hasn't chosen anywhere yet. Do we know how, like, roughly percentage wise, like, all the people in the portal, is it like half of them have found a school, or 80% or 90%? Does anybody have an idea about how many guys are I guess left? Because Nebraska still has some holes, and I'm wondering if there's a chance that they could still pick up a couple guys.
There's plenty of players left. I don't know the percentage. We've started to see, I think, some talk about guys who, if they haven't found a spot yet, and if they can, like, if they're in good standing and can stay at their school or have places to train and do what they need to do, like, they might be more in demand once everybody goes through spring football and finds out what they do and don't have. So there could be guys who just ride it out and wait until May. Because at this point, like, depending on school calendars, you may not get enrolled anyway. So that's kind of becoming, I think, we're going to see a second de facto, I think, transfer movement, even though the portal is technically closed, because they can choose where to play at any point.
Okay.
Vogues, tell us about Counter Read Partner, how folks can get signed up. It's been fun this morning. Thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Just head to counterread.com and see what we're up to. We publish 4 newsletters a week. 2 of those you can check out for free, see what we're all about. 2 of those are subscriber exclusives. We'll, of course, have updates from basketball and the weekend. Kind of embarked on a long-term research project this week, and we'll see when that actually ends up being published. But looking at Too Deep and talking to the transfer portal, like, how many players do you actually need? Everybody can have 105, but what's the actual core? Is it 40 players? Is it 50 players? How good do you need to be in that group? So that'll be coming at some point down the road.
Hey, real quick, Brandon James in the stream. This is funny because as someone who breaks down recruits and in-state and the radius, are Taylor and Ellis now in-state?
They are. They are in-state. They're considered in-state recruits now.
What does that do with the 500-mile radius attrition breakdown? This is kind of like an outlier.
It helps make up for last year.
Oh, touche.
So that's the way to do it. Like, you import in-state recruits now.
Now, could part of this also be trying to repair the relationship with Millard South after, you didn't get any of their players last year? Because that looks like it's going to be a wagon of a program moving forward.
You may have started the war with your friends in Lincoln. Just saying, I've heard from 3 high school coaches this week that believe it's a bit of a slap in the face. Now, Millard South is just printing folks to the Division I. So that's probably where you go. But you're not, there wasn't a program in Lincoln that was at the level of Millard South right now. That's where you drop him in if you're gonna send him somewhere. But you got to feel a little slighted if you're Lincoln for not being.
Why?
Because you're Class A too. That I don't believe you should feel slighted.
Yeah,
but that's
especially when one of the programs in Lincoln, their dad, his son is one of your starting tackles.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you make a very valid point. I've heard.
And the other former starting defensive end is a first-round pick at Oregon.
Yeah. I mean, they to finish this, I know we'll continue. I don't want to take Brandon's time. They would be at Westside if Braylon Warren was not the quarterback at Westside.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, does the yellow school bus pick up kids in Lincoln and take them to Millard?
And if they do, where do they pick them up in Lincoln, Bill?
Well, you guys would be surprised. There's a handful of athletes and students that live in Lincoln but go to school in Omaha. I mean, well, it's not. This isn't okay. This part is new, but the part of somebody living in Lincoln and commuting to Omaha to go to high school is not new. It's been happening for a while, and it's not just athletes; it's students as well.
Which brings us back to, stopping by places that are in proximity. So, Brandon, I know you got to go to Salt Lake to pick up, some crumble cookie at the original store on your typical errands in Chattanooga today. So,
hey, how much snow are you guys going to get there?
It looks like most of the snow is going to miss us, but that's it. I wish it were snow because it's going to be ice, and it's beginning now. So,
okay. Well, maybe you can find a book to read while you're snowed in.
I do. I have Chuck Klosterman's new book, Football. Excellent, by the way. If anybody is interested into kind of a cultural history of the sport, we talk about quite a bit.
That's the guy from around. Was that the one that was in the Omaha area for a while? Klosterman?
No, he's from a town of 500 people in North Dakota, though. So I've always found his he has a very Nebraska sensibility.
Because I went to a soccer camp as a youth. It was Chuck Klosterman's soccer camp.
That's not him. That's
okay. Well, I'm just saying. Maybe it was his early days. You never know. Never forget it because it's the weirdest name ever, Klosterman. All right.
Vogues, be good.
fellas.
Enjoy. Right. Appreciate you. There he is, bro. Vogues is like, I'm never coming back. Appreciate it. The Iron Horse with us.
Can I ask
Sharpie, what's up? How we doing, man?
Good. The intensity of snow in Kansas City has picked up. I just looked out my hotel window.
What is the temperature?
I think it's 2 degrees.
No, I'm saying
in your room. In the room?
In the room. Yeah.
84, but we're staying at the Intercontinental on the Plaza.
Sweet.
It can go up to 87, but I thought that was a little warm.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if I was dressed like you in an 84-degree room with a beanie and a hoodie, the levels of swamp ass would be undeniable.
I don't sweat. I've said this numerous times.
I know. And I'm just saying, it would be brutal.
Just try it once, guys. Just try it once, and you'll be like, you know what? All of those experts are wrong.
There would be puddles all over the hotel room.
Yeah.
Just dripping off me.
Jeez.
Quickly, so let's stay
with the Trey Taylor and Tay Ellis topic.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an interesting storyline that you could get into with potential for Ahmad Hudson. I think because of his basketball career, where hey man, if you want to get to spring practice and stay around a football program while you still complete your senior season of basketball because you want to do both, there's an interesting argument to be made for why it makes more sense for him to play in Nebraska. But before we get there, how exciting would it have been if Trey Taylor and Tay Ellis would have ended up playing at like an 8-man high school? How many yards would Trey Taylor have put up at 8?
Very high. New 8-man team in Nebraska. They could have come down there. Could have got him a good deal.
Yeah.
Would have put up 90 touchdowns.
They probably would have. This was so it's been kind of an interesting week. First, let me ask you this: would it and what this is legal? Just because someone transfers to a high school isn't always because they're recruiting them. There's a lot of layers to this, which there's a lot of positive things about Nebraska football, that you have 2 guys that are all in. Like Trey Taylor is the best recruiter that Nebraska football has had since Kevin Steele. Okay. He spends more time recruiting than maybe he does playing football. I might have maybe a little bit of a stretch. But it also just kind of reminds us that college and high school are intersecting, and we're talking more about the athlete than the student. And I know you got to go to school, but we talk more about the athletics than we do the education. But would it surprise you guys? Because there's a lot of attention towards Millard South. They lost 90% of their offense. This past year, them playing a national schedule, I would have loved to see. I don't think they're built to play a national schedule right now, even with the addition of Taylor and Ellis, even though they're going to be good. They had a lot of young talent that, of course, played a lot of football last year in a lot of their blowouts. Would it surprise you if we have another high school football game in Memorial Stadium this upcoming fall?
That'd be outstanding.
Because I think you're going to see, I do TV for high school football. I mean, the schedules come out February 11th. And I know Millard South and West Side have actually down here in Kansas City have contacted schools in the Lee Summit area to see if they can get a game. Sioux Falls just did an agreement with OPS schools, which I think is fantastic for the next couple of years. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Millard South plays a game at Memorial Stadium. We had Fremont Columbus a couple of years ago. But from Nebraska's standpoint, it shows you two guys that are all in. Okay. They're not wavering on their commitment to the class of 27, and they've taken the torch and they're running with it, trying to attract guys into their class to make sure the class stays together, regardless of what happens in 2026. That they want to be here. They want to have boots on the ground. They want to be 1 foot at Millard South while they're playing football and kind of going to school, and then another foot at Nebraska, learning so that when they're college eligible, they're ready to go. Trey Taylor was probably going to transfer no matter what, because at the current high school he's at, he can't graduate early. And that is one of the stipulations is he wants to be at Nebraska this time next year. So he was going to transfer to a new school. I don't know that anybody thought that it would be all the way to Nebraska. But you're right, Schmidty. You brought up a point. Last year there was, as Millard South was doing what Millard South was doing, there was so much negativity because of what was happening to high school football in the state and what they were doing and the super team that they had put together. But I always said, what if Jet was coming to Nebraska? Would the reaction towards Millard South be differently? Okay. Now Millard South is going to be loaded again. Again, they got some things to fix on their roster to be where they were last year. And that's one of the best high school teams of all time. But now they're going to be like, oh man, I got to go see Millard South. Last year, people were like, I don't want anything to do with Millard South. So you're right, Schmidty. It's kind of changed a little bit. And there was negativity at Millard South towards Nebraska because all of these guys on a super team, how come they didn't have offers? Yeah. How come nobody was going 45 minutes down the road?
Especially the tailback. Oof.
Yeah, he was. So, he transferred from Grand Island to Millard South. He's I think he'll be a good Big Ten running back at Illinois. Yeah. So it's kind of college is now seeping into high school. We already saw it with NIL deals. Okay, that high school kids can get NIL deals. And now we've got the transfer portal. But the transfer portal in Nebraska and in Omaha is not created the same. Like Gretna, Elkhorn, and Bennington have different rules. Just because you have availability in your school, which Millard South does, and you follow the rules to be able to get into Millard South and be eligible, those 3 communities that I mentioned, you actually have to live. You have to live in those communities, and the NSA will come and knock on your door. They actually did it to a current Nebraska volleyball player that was living in one of those communities just to check if she was, when their family was displaced by a tornado, if they were living in their current place where she was going to high school.
And you remember what happened with Gretna having to, forfeit their state championship because of one player that lived out of district. Yeah. Millard South that player could have been at Millard South with no penalty, but they're at Gretna. So NSAA is really just enforcing the rules that the schools have themselves is really what it is.
Yeah. And once this came out, I'm sure that Nate and the whole crew in Lincoln, their phones are blowing up and people are like, what is going on? And, Millard South immediately addressed it and they were like, this is what you have to do. And both of these young men are following the procedure to be eligible. I mean, you guys know this. You've heard me talk about it, especially in Omaha. And I think we've seen it a little bit in Lincoln. I've always said we should have a May 1 high school portal show. So you can then figure out where everybody is at, because May 1's kind of the magical day. You got the 90-day sit out, but a lot more kids. And we had, and you guys are going to be surprised when you start to see some high school football rosters next fall of like, hey, wasn't that guy at Omaha Central? Wasn't that guy at Bellevue West? Oh, they're now at Millard North. I mean, there was a lot of activity where during Christmas, now they can get in when the second semester starts. So college and high school are now intersecting in that world.
And it's always been the case in basketball, but you're seeing it pretty rampant in football.
You remember Schmidty, when we're hanging and banging in Lincoln in the 90s, you got kids that are living in South Lincoln are going to Lincoln Northeast. I mean,
and that was
Rick
the thing at the time.
Good on him. Legendary high school coach. He's one of the best recruiters that's ever gotten mail in the city of Lincoln.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that this is much less reported, that this is going on with high school FBLA and DECA clubs too. I mean, there are kids just transferring right and left, and it's rampant in FBLA.
Yep.
In the rural communities, FFA students are living outside of their school districts.
Bill, just wait
it's
until
all
you
over.
see the academic decathlon drama.
Well, listen, not all FBLA programs have Otis Spunkmeyer cookie stations where you get to run the business.
I always thought
Right?
the DECA
Or
folks
sponsored by Entman's.
overcharged for the 2-day-old apple fritters. That's just me.
Shout out Dave Schillinglaw.
And
Yeah,
for those people who know risky business, there's a lot of Joel Goodsons out there that are dealing in human fulfillment, but that's another thing.
I mean, it's the thing about, like all of us went to school and we, especially on these days, we would go to school. They wouldn't cancel it because of the weather. There was a sense of community. And now because there is more flexibility, you have more options. And, there's some good and there's some bad of it. But from the athletic standpoint, and it's not just football, Schmidty, you mentioned basketball, volleyball, there's others, baseball. Like, guys, this in Omaha, baseball is another one. Like, there's been a lot of movement in baseball. So I don't know where this ends. The NSA kind of, with their layers, is a little bit limited. But not, again, not everybody has the ability to do this. But it doesn't always mean, I just want to point this out, it doesn't always mean that people are actively out there recruiting. Some places you're attracted to.
Well, exactly. And if you're Millard South's coach, if you're that administration or that coaching staff, are you going to say, well, one, you can't say no. If somebody wants to transfer to your school, they do, right? You can't stop that. And then if Trey Taylor's coming out for tryouts, you're probably going to start him. I mean, it's just, it's not entirely their fault.
There's a couple things. Like, one of my big reasons why I don't think you can do anything about this or ban the kids moving is, think about the kids on that Millard South team that next season are going to get recruiting attention that they otherwise wouldn't have gotten if they were at another school in the Omaha metro area. You're going to have people coming out to watch Millard South games, coaches, recruiting coordinators. They're going to see a guy and say, oh, man, no one's looking at that guy. I mean, you will get attention, and there will be kids that end up playing at the next level because they went to Millard South, and that wouldn't have happened to other schools in the Omaha Metro. So that's why I'm like, you can't blame the kids. You can't be mad at the system. If you want to advance your football career, you should probably be going to a football powerhouse, because if you win a starting job and if you're playing on a team that has got Trey Taylor and Tay Ellis and who the heck ever else, you're going to get yourself some recruiting attention. That being said, I wonder if there could be a future where you can split up Nebraska high school football into teams that have open districts, some recruiting, some movement, and then to districts that are closed.
More like
have more of the
neighborhood conference versus the
right.
And you can split up the high school football and kind of try to level the playing field a little bit in that sense.
You've got your Power 4 and your group of 5.
Well, you look at, guys, how this has shifted. Remember, we had, what was it, probably 5-10 years ago when we had a run of private schools that were winning state championships in Nebraska, not necessarily in Class A, but B and on down. Yeah. That was the big discussion of, okay, let's have a public state championship and a private state championship. Now we're shifting to what we're talking about here. I will give you one other thing about what's kind of interesting about this whole discussion about Trey Taylor and Tay Ellis transferring to Millard South. And by the way, I think if I'm Nebraska, I'm trying to find a way to get them to play at Memorial Stadium. They play their home games at Buell. Place is going to be sold out. It does get you ready for the expectations of the Nebraska fan. If you're both of those guys, I mean, you're going to feel like everybody knows your name. Okay. So that kind of gets them a little bit of taste before they start playing with Nebraska on their uniform. But Millard South, they have a really good quarterback in Brody Peters, who last year was the backup as a freshman. And he could spin it really well. And he, of course, played a lot because Millard South was involved in a bunch of blowouts. So they were able to build some depth. He's a really good quarterback. I got a text from a head coach here in Omaha who has a really good program. And I think he did. His starting quarterback graduated. And he goes, I wonder what Brody Peters is going to do. And that's the backup. But that's the guy that was the heir apparent at Millard South. And I was like, I don't know. And he goes, I wonder if he'll go in the portal. And I was like, wow. Wow.
Well, exactly.
It's college and high school intersecting.
Was that him saying, hey, Gary, what are the tampering rules for high school? Just asking for a friend. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know, but you know what? Like it's going to be really interesting because Millard North has had a good offseason in the portal. You know, West Side is loaded with guys they have coming back off last year's roster. They have a Mizzou commitment at quarterback and Braylon Warren. But I think if you're just looking at it from the Nebraska perspective, it's a win-win. You got two kids that are fully committed to Nebraska that wanted to kind of get ready for Nebraska. So they move here, and whatever you're doing from the Nebraska side, you get them prepared so that they can make the transition. And also you can kind of keep watch over them. Okay. Because we know, let's say Nebraska struggles a little bit next year. Everybody, man, there are going to be people waiting to pick up the scraps. And you have two of your key guys and your most important guy in your recruiting class that are close to home, and you see him every day. That also gives you a little sense of comfort.
It's insurance.
Yeah. And you also set up some studio interviews for House Rules, which is good. Instead of having to do it remotely, you can just do it in person, which is really what this is all about.
Come on by the office for the sit down.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Practice is going.
And we don't need to do like on FaceTime or whatever. You can just come right in. Now let's take this to a really dark and sad place for a second.
Wow. Hey, Nebraska basketball plays at 11 a.m. today. If they win, they're 20-0.
Let's just go dark and sad for a second, because that's how Novembers are around here. Let's fast forward to November. Trey Taylor and Tay Ellis have just set state records for most completions and touchdowns. Tay Ellis has 28 touchdowns receiving. Trey Taylor's only thrown 2 incompletions. Meanwhile, it's November, and Nebraska's gauntlet of a schedule has them teetering at 4-7, right? And then the negativity's at an all-time high. Could this backfire to where those guys see it up close, how kind of dark and negative it gets, and they go Christian Lacouture and they bail and they go somewhere else? Like, is that it? Just because they're committed right now? Look at Nebraska's schedule. Look how things could get. Look at how the temperature could get if Nebraska doesn't come through.
Well, but you can sell a little hope with your 2027 recruiting class that loves you so much they're already here. I mean, this is Sharpie nailed it with having them.
But they don't sign until December,
right? But they're within arm's reach.
Yeah,
and that's important. And you know what? Nebraska's just. It's year 4, dude. Go play and win against this schedule.
By the way, I'm fully against this whole selling hope. You sell hope when you don't have anything else.
I get that, but
I wasn't saying that about you.
If they crater with that schedule, what you got left is all right. It's going to get better. Here's what's on the way. I'm with you. Yeah. But strategically, it doesn't hurt having this. But I ranked 2027.
I will say this: there's something very unique about Trey Taylor. Is Trey Taylor could have probably bailed on Nebraska by now.
Yeah. But
every time there's something, when Nebraska loses or they get to 6-6, or 7-6, and they have the bowl game. I mean, the kid is the kid is all in on Nebraska.
Yeah.
I mean, they hit a home run getting him to commit that early, so they can
old soul.
Yeah, and I think he
comports himself like an adult.
Dylan came to Nebraska to turn around Nebraska. I think Trey feels the same way. I think his turnaround, what he is going to inherit, who knows? But I don't have a fear about him because I think he's been in from the jump. But your question is very valid, Schmidty. Is what happens now? That's why Tuesday I'm very interested in the Big Ten schedule release. We'll get the order of games. What is November going to look like for Nebraska? We already know that 3 teams that'll be in the preseason top 6 are on that list. They're going to play Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon. But what does November look like that ends with Iowa on the road in Iowa City? That's what I'm going to be looking for on Tuesday when they announce the Big Ten schedule. But it's now we're past the college football season and all these early top 25s, and people are talking about who can be the next Indiana, who's going to make the run and be the Indiana of 2026. Are you seeing anything about Nebraska, guys?
No.
There's like no buzz, and most of the national people have a good relationship with Rule. I found that curious this week that when people say who's the next Indiana, who has the potential out of the Big Ten to be that next team to rise up and make the playoffs, you see Iowa more than you see Nebraska. And I don't think any of us anticipated that going into year number 4. So there's no buzz. And maybe that can be, and we talked about this, I think, a couple weeks ago. Maybe that can be a good thing for this program where there is no buzz. They fly under the radar. And you know what? They show up in September, the first Saturday in September, and play Ohio. And we go, oh, okay.
There's a lot of questions, and there is the see it to believe it factor that has gotten a little bit louder because there was buzz about Nebraska starting at this time a year ago, being that, all right, who's going to follow suit? Who's the next Indiana? Because you had Illinois as a candidate. You had Nebraska as a candidate. Washington. You had Iowa that, is always kind of there. Nebraska is kind of out of sight, out of mind right now. And they have a chance, just like they did last year, just like they did 2 years ago at the end of September, to make a statement, because you're going to get somebody of consequence after your 3 cream puffs in the non-conference. You'll open the Big Ten season up against one of the big dogs, I would think.
You don't think it'll be a Friday night game in Champaign?
Well, maybe it could be, but Illinois will still be one of those.
Yeah, they'll be
lines of demarcation games. Are you better than Illinois, or are you worse than Illinois? Because to be in the running in November, you need to be able to beat them.
Yeah, it's a critical year period. The thing that's disappointing about after 3 years is there's really only 1 year you've gone to the offseason with momentum, and that was last year. And you guys are seeing this with the portal. Like, college football is about momentum. Once you get things rolling and you keep feeding the beast and guys keep showing up and you get that next victory and you get a little momentum going, what this sport can do for you. And that's the frustrating thing is 2 out of the 3 years, you've really never gone into the offseason with momentum, like where you could start building on it. Like last year, we left the bowl game and you had Dylan coming back and you're like, okay, I see this. But it never got like a boulder just rolling down the hill. And that's one of the things that's missing. But whatever Rule does between now and the start of the season, as long as he gets guys internally to believe, because I think it's going to be very, very mixed. Even if we have that moment in the middle of the summer where it's like, okay, time to drink a little Kool-Aid. Let's get excited, because we should get excited. You want to be excited. Only thing that matters is, can he get guys inside of his building, on his staff and on his roster, to believe that there is something good going, that this can happen. Because it's a critical year. It's a critical year, and we'll be fascinated to see how that schedule rolls out. But look at November. November's been a rough one for 3 years. November will be a monster 1-26 leading into that signing day in 27, where right now that class is inside of the top 10.
But don't you think that in reality, if everybody is putting so much hopium, deriving it from Trey Taylor, I mean, he committed to Nebraska before his junior year. There were people that thought he was going to arrive on campus last fall. He's still going to be a high school kid. In reality, for him to be an impact player at Nebraska, you're looking at probably 28.
Yeah.
Right? And we haven't gotten to the 26 season yet, in which he'll be a high school senior, transferring to a new program, and everything is on this kid, much like it was with Dylan Raiola. That did not work out. I don't think that they're going to have the similar influences around the program that came with Dylan Raiola. I think Trey Taylor is probably going to be a player, and that's just going to be pretty much it. Nebraska's not going to have to deal with anything else. But we're two plus seasons away from just seeing how good he might be in college. That would be a sophomore season. And people are putting so much on this. I mean, it could be 29, his junior year. Think about that.
Well, a lot of us
hang on
here. Yeah,
hang on. With Taylor, I mean, you got to be a dude. You got to be an absolute dude to be someone that can play as a true freshman, let alone as a redshirt freshman, and be consistent.
Compete in the sports media and communications major.
Well, sure, yes, but I'm saying to give you something consistently for 12 games, that requires a ton. I mean,
he's good though. He's good.
Oh, he is. He's very.
he's
I'm
good.
not saying it
He's
can't be
good,
done.
but there
I'm
is a
just saying-
jump between Millard South and Nebraska.
Yeah.
What
So-
about the competition level of Mount Carmel to Millard South?
Millard
Chicago
South
Catholic League is famous, right?
Yes.
Nate Turnerville.
Probably the weekly competition more difficult. The team that he will play with better. See, I don't know. You know, people are clamoring for Millard South to play a national schedule. They're not built like they were last year. Like last year would have been the year to play the national schedule. Again, high school football schedules come out February 11th. You know, and they've changed the scheduling where it is more competitive balance, where you're not going to have Millard South playing Benson and Lincoln High. Okay, so we'll get lucky and have a Millard South West Side regular season game, which we haven't had for a couple of years.
So Nebraska and college teams can now add up to 4 logos on their jerseys. Is that right? 3 logos or 4?
2.
Is it 2?
Mhm.
Oh, and a third if you make it to like the playoffs or something like that. I think is what it is. You get that out. So what should Nebraska? Which logos would be fitting?
Brian
Elijah,
Bauer's
do you wanna-
nailing it with Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Yes.
You want to pull up the Average Joe logo and merch?
That would be a good one. That
7
would
and
be
7.
And would that be fitting? Right.
Drink it and
Would
enjoy
that
it.
be
Oh,
fitting?
you know what though? We don't want this
Jamal
because
Lord era.
that would immediately turn into a meme. Oh, they got the Average Joes on the uniform. They're an Average Joe football team.
Well, that
That's what
is-
would it be for the show?
All about content.
well,
Husker Nation
Yeah.
would riot.
I don't want us to lose brand equity by doing that. We'll come November. Let's just do it through October, and then we can.
How about
switch it
game
out.
by game?
Yeah.
No, I think the real play here is we sponsor one of the Nebraska's early season opponents and get a number like Bowling Green, sponsored by the Average Joe Sports.
That's probably going to come cheaper. Yeah.
So
It'll
let's
be
talk
cheaper.
about the
And-
four. So you've got what are famous Nebraska products?
Well, first of all, can we stop? If you're looking at the Nebraska jersey, it's already very busy. You've got the patch, then you've got the
Adidas logo.
Adidas logo. I mean, you can't get rid of the Husker patch. So you have that.
Maybe it's just a helmet sticker.
I would like the helmet sticker more than something on the jersey, because if you're a local company, I mean, is there any thought of a pushback when you have your logo on the Nebraska football jersey, but on the back of the helmet you don't see it as much, but it's still there, and you
Maybe
probably
like an or something.
Yeah.
Is it already taken?
What'd you say?
Maybe like an or.
Oh.
We can put that on there.
Now,
Oh.
you also have to probably limit this on how many companies can afford it, because I don't think that piece of real estate is going to be very cheap.
No. Yeah. Amigos. There's the acres on the headset already. They'll move to the jersey. Yeah, can see that. It's a good point, Kobe.
Now,
Grass rail.
Nebraska has not had any on-field logos. You can do that.
How about depends, like Colorado, just to try to.
I think you absolutely flex, and you see old teammates on the uniform.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
No,
But would they pay for it?
I'm saying you flex.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to say this. I don't think Nebraska. It's a blue blood traditional program. I don't think they want, Calandria walking around looking like he's playing, at the Waste Management this weekend with logos all over the place. They want to keep it classy. And if they do add something, it will be in a manner that will not be so dominating.
Right.
And I think that'll make us all happy. Yeah.
Less. Yeah. This is Kobe's got it. Shields.
Chico's bail bonds.
Yeah, that's all right.
What if a company that wasn't based in Nebraska came in and dropped a bunch of coin?
Nike.
You accept it. You accept it. Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
Hey, you guys, speaking of Nike, you think Adidas, Adidas just had a nice little national championship game. You think Adidas will become more active in the NIL college football game, helping their Adidas schools?
Well, they did for
have
a
been on the
while
player level.
before we went to Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean,
on the player level, they've been there, and they've.
But I'm talking about helping your Adidas schools,
right?
Like more with the NIL to acquire talent.
Well, that's been
instead of rewarding talent that you've already acquired, that you're an Adidas school. So we're gonna take care of Harper Murray and Dylan Raiola.
I think they will, because it all started in AAU, right? You're either a Nike team or an Adidas team. And a lot of times you get funneled to a Nike or an Adidas school in the recruiting world. Sharpie, what's your gut tell you about Nebraska, Minnesota today?
If we get to the last media timeout in the second half and it's close, buckle up. But I think, you're going to play a desperate team today. Early start at the barn. Nebraska hasn't had a ton of success at the barn. It's kind of been mixed, but Nebraska's a good basketball team. And Minnesota's going to play desperate. They play differently at home, but Nebraska's pace, and this is, if J-Law was out today, I would worry about it, because Nebraska's pace is phenomenal. And he's the guy that drives the car with the other four that are in the vehicle with him. If it was Frager that was running the offense and he was out, I would worry more, but I think their pace will stay the same. They need to get into an up and down game. They can't let Minnesota settle into their half court offense and run their sets and run the shot clock down. I think Nebraska needs to speed Minnesota up. They need to keep Tyson away from the foul line. He's their best player, transfer from North Carolina. It's a weird place to shoot, as we've seen. But Nebraska's good for a reason. And whether Frager is, in a uniform or not in a uniform today, I think Nebraska has enough pieces that they can find a way to win this game. But it's not going to be a cakewalk. They're only a 5.5 point favorite. But if it gets to the under 4 media timeout and it's tight, good on Minnesota, and let's see how Nebraska reacts. But I like Nebraska to continue to do things that they do. They're a really, really good basketball team, and really, really good basketball teams against teams that they are much better than, they roll them, and they've got 3 straight wins by double figures over those kind of teams.
I love how you characterize J-Law in terms of, and we're talking about Jamarcus Lawrence. Nebraska depends on him, right? They depend on Hoiberg, depend on Mast. I don't feel like Frager's gone to that level yet, where Nebraska depends. It's
been more of a
him.
Surprise.
Fair? Exactly. Yeah. It's almost like it's almost like he is on the perfect team. Exactly. He's on the perfect team to be able to grow into the role without having to be the guy. He's not that. Yeah. Right. So Nebraska is going to lose some offense, obviously, with him out there, but they're not. Like if Nebraska's without Mast, kind of scary, right? If they're without Hoiberg, you're like, oh man. Without Frager, it feels like it's something. Watch, they get blown out by 20 today. Feels like it's something they can absorb, right? Versus having a guy that you just kind of run everything through. He is the ultimate plus and kind of gravy guy, and he's in a perfect situation to grow.
Yeah, the only thing, like Frager's the guy that can put the ball on the floor and can explode to the rim and finish with 2 hands. Yeah. Nebraska's not loaded with those, but we've said all year, Nebraska's kind of a team of 5, and they can move guys in and out. Now, going from Garcia or Jacobson takes some of those minutes, or even, Kendall Blue gets off the milk carton, they lose some of that athleticism, but I think their pace will stay the same. I don't think they all of a sudden go from the way they played to slowing it up and walking the ball up the floor. And remember, guys, they still have Sanford and they still have Mast, who Nebraska's been able to manage the last couple of games with Mast not having to be your number 1 guy. They just, for situations like this, Nebraska is perfectly built because they have some depth and they don't rely on one guy. But let's don't kid ourselves. Frager is a good piece to have, and he's a good spark off the bench. And he's a guy that people have to put on the scouting report at the upper level. It's just, Nebraska's going to have to make some shots.
Difference maker when it comes to getting to the rim and the transition piece.
If today is Michigan, this conversation is completely different. Today is Minnesota, and the matchup is better without Frager than it will be on Tuesday night when you're in Ann Arbor.
Amen.
Gary, as a guy that watched Kendall Blue before he transferred, I think there's some pretty high hopes for him. And you just mentioned Milk Carton. I don't think most Husker fans could walk right by him and not know that they did. Because he didn't play. He doesn't play until, 2 minutes left in the game, garbage time. Are you surprised at how he's acclimated after watching him play before? Or is it kind of like, well, yeah, he wasn't too strong with the ball before, so I'm not super surprised. Like, what's your assessment there?
I think it's a good thing that Nebraska has passed Kendall Blue. I'm not taking a shot at Kendall Blue. Kendall Blue, when he was recruited out of the portal from St. Thomas, and, he was a guy that played in a really good system for him where they had a good point guard. They did a lot of back cuts. They did a lot of screening. He's in a league where he could probably beat guys off the dribble more than he can in the Big Ten. But when he showed up, they thought he was going to be a key guy. And the fact that he's been passed, I think is a great sign for Nebraska because other guys have elevated their game. And, I don't know that he's the first off the bench because he's only played, has he played more than 7 minutes in a game in a while? He's just a complimentary piece. And I think that's okay. And here's the thing that,
he's played 52 minutes total in 12 games.
Nebraska, though, even though he was one of their more talked about portal additions, and they've kind of struck out on him, it hasn't taken the team down because they've hit on Sanford and they've hit on bringing Lawrence back. So, whatever he can give them, they'll find a way. Like Garcia's minutes today will be interesting, but I don't think it's necessarily a body. It may be more minutes distributed with people playing the position that Frager would play.
Yeah.
Instead of, all right, all of a sudden Garcia's playing 25 minutes today. I think they'll distribute around to pick up those minutes. But, Jared Garcia is a guy that's completely different from Frager, but Garcia is a guy that can back you down and he's physical. And he's also been a guy that can attack the glass. Yeah. So they'll find a way. He's
also hit a couple of key threes. Garcia's had a couple of big shots in games.
He won the game.
And hasn't he surprised you guys? I mean, he was kind of an afterthought. He was a little bit late addition from Tulsa. And you're like, okay. Hey, since the Big Ten has started, they found a role for Jared Garcia.
I think Garcia is one of the reasons why I don't think you want to risk things with Oogie. I mean, as you look him,
redshirt him.
He's not listed on the out for season, but I am putting him under the out for season category unless you have some sort of significant injuries. Say rink goes down for extended time, God forbid. That might be the time you pull out Oogie. But yeah, the red shirt, and I think you can kind of use him as a rink next year and try to carry this momentum that you've brought into next season if you leave him out. I mean, I think Garcia is one of the reasons why you have that flexibility to say, you know what, we can sit back with Oogie and think about 2027.
Can I throw this out there? And I think we bring this up every week. So Nebraska has a chance today to be 20-0. And they've got a monster game coming up at the beginning of next week. And this next 5-game stretch is pretty interesting for Nebraska. I think we're all curious of, okay, here we go. They're number 7 in the country. They're on a number 1 line in some brackets. They're on a number 2. Here locally, we are talking about this. But is it crazy to me that still nationally, Nebraska basketball isn't as big a story as it should be? I see more discussion about Miami of Ohio. And good on them. They're unbeaten. And Arizona is a wagon. But it just still seems like Nebraska is a great story. And man, Fred is the national coach of the year. And they got his son. But it seems like it should be a bigger story, right? Really on the heels of Indiana football doing what they just did. I don't know. Maybe I've got the red glasses on. It just nationally, it seems like it should be a bigger deal. And maybe it will because now football is over and people start paying attention to college basketball. I just want to throw that out there because I think we do that every Saturday. I know that's me. I don't know if you guys feel the same way or sensing the same thing when you talk or listen to people outside of our bubble.
Well, I feel like there is this factor of national media looking at it and saying, well, they'll come back down to earth here soon.
Yeah.
Because you know what people haven't been doing? They haven't been watching the games. They haven't been sitting down and watching this Husker basketball team. Hey, maybe they checked out the Illinois game for a little bit. They checked out the Michigan State game for a little bit. They've seen some highlights. They've seen Fred's actions on Twitter. Man, Fred Hoiberg, he's got some great offensive actions, but teams in the Big Ten, they're well coached. They'll figure out that offense. Folks haven't been watching basketball. I think part of that is because, there's been football season, but everyone's looking at this and just looking at the record and looking at the results and saying, well, they got a little magic in a bottle, but they'll pick up that first loss. They'll come back down to earth. Because I don't think the most of the folks out there, with few exceptions, are actually sitting down, watching the games and seeing what this team is like folks around here are.
There's disbelief, and there's still, unfairly the name on the front of the jersey part of this discussion, right?
It's the same as Indiana football this year. Same.
Right. You don't believe what you've seen. If you change the name on the front of the jersey, you're immediately impressed with what you saw with Schmidty's squad, and you're immediately impressed with what you have in Fred's team, because it's been years in the making, quite honestly, with how he's collected this group. And you get Rink back, and you got a redshirt freshman that's a phenom. You got the coach's kid that plays his ass off. That's super impactful. And then you got the transfer in Price that you didn't see a whole lot of a year ago, right? You knew he could shoot, but it was spotty, and it's all just come together. So I think their steam will pick up moving forward, especially when CBS gets some primetime Sunday Big Ten games. If Nebraska makes a deep run in Chicago, I mean, then you're going to have the overreaction nationally with Clark and the crew, and then they'll jump on the Nebraska bandwagon. But right now it's Katz, it's Rothstein that are kind of leading the charge with Nebraska as a team that's for real. And these next few games, listen, handle business today with the top score out. Michigan's gettable, but very difficult. And then go get Rutgers and Purdue. These next 5 go 4-1. And then I think,
and you got Illinois at home. Illinois at home is going to be really difficult.
That's going to be really tough, because they've got a one on you and a little revenge factor.
But don't you get over your next 5 and you're a 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, the next 5 are kind of like, okay, maybe I get my question and our questions answered of, okay, people, where do you think Nebraska is? I hope what Indiana football did, I hope maybe, and Elijah, you brought up a great point. There's a lot of people that just look at box scores and they don't watch the game. And again, Nebraska in the last couple of games has played teams that are well below them in the standings. But they've taken care of business, right?
Killed them.
Now, Washington was a little bit weird because that whole vibe in that building changed once Frager went down. And Nebraska probably could have named their score, but it was almost like, okay, let's just get through the game and let's find out what's wrong with Frager. But Nebraska has taken care of business. I mean, they destroyed Oregon. People forget, back in December when we were still talking about football, they destroyed Wisconsin. Wisconsin's playing really good basketball right now. Remember, they went in at Ann Arbor and won a couple of weeks ago. I hope that the Indiana football does one thing to us as media fans that consume these great sports, is we stop looking at the helmets or the name on the front of the jersey, and we look at who's inside of the shoulder pads, who's inside of the jersey. Because I use this as a prime example, and this is good on Indiana. When you watched Indiana Alabama play in the Rose Bowl, didn't Indiana look more like Alabama than Alabama looked like Alabama?
Trade jerseys.
So maybe we can make this adjustment where we stop looking at the logos and we actually watch the game and the individuals that are coaching and playing, regardless if they come from a school that is one of the losingest college football programs. Things change quickly in sports. Now, does that mean next year it's going to be the same? No. But in the moment, I think we probably have to adjust our eyes and our evaluation of how we look at teams. And I hope Indiana football has done that for that sport in particular moving forward, where in college basketball, it's still a little blue blood heavy. But you know what? It's okay for the Nebraskas to jump into the mix once in a while. I mean, I think it's great for the sport.
But the problem is college basketball does not start until March.
True.
You know, with the national media, it's the trademark, March Madness. And that's when people think that they can start focusing in on what's been happening in college basketball. And then we will get all kinds of experts who will come out of the woodwork as if they had been watching the season all along. Yeah. That's been one of my pet peeves about college basketball and the NCAA tournament. In our business, we're narrative creators, and there will be people who will be calling the Big Ten tournaments and all of the other tournaments around the country, and then get to the NCAA tournament, and they'll get their assignment, and they'll be looking at Nebraska, and you'll be hearing announcers and media people saying, Burke Buchtunzel has been a really solid player for Nebraska. Been watching him all season long, and Price Sanford is a really good shooter that teams have to be considerate of, and Rick Mast is another one. That's another. You get this. Rick. you get all of these people who are in our business who have not been paying attention all season. The ones who appreciate Nebraska basketball the most are named Izzo, Underwood, McDermott, mean, you ask any coach in the country, and
Altman.
they are marveling at what Nebraska and Fred Hoiberg are doing. And if Fred Hoiberg shares Coach of the Year honors with somebody because the media just isn't paying attention, well, we know that Painter's going to have a great year. And, well, Fred Hoiberg seems to have done a fine job with his chaps. So let's just give him co-Coach of the Year honors, regardless of what happens the rest of the season.
Do you know what?
But that's the problem is that for college basketball, and it's been this way, for a while now, it just people don't pay attention until March Madness. Same thing in the NBA. Christmas Day, our big spectacular of games all day long. And it's like, is that when the NBA begins? Probably should be. Nobody pays attention the first 2 months. Nobody pays much attention, unfortunately, to college basketball, especially with all the saturation and the transfer portal and everything. It's just the way it's going to be.
Well, and that's a – go ahead, Elijah.
I was going to say there's 3 reasons why. You talked about the coaches marveling, and also we're going to have to wrap up this show or else I'm going to be late to the rendezvous time to hit the road to Ann Arbor. There is 3 reasons I think why all these coaches
go north. North to Ann Arbor.
But the Brad Underwoods and the Tom Izzos of the world, they're looking at Nebraska. First off, they have a lot of respect for Fred Hoiberg, just generally speaking. They appreciate him as a person, the way he operates. But number 2, they understand just how impossible what he has pulled off at Nebraska is. So they have respect for that. And third, they want to be coaching this Nebraska basketball team. They watch how Nebraska plays and they envy. They look at their own roster.
The rest of them hate their team.
They're for Nebraska because of the lack of ego, the lack of selfishness. That is so hard to find in modern basketball with the AAU circuit and how high school basketball is treated and everything on that side. They look at this Nebraska team and there is envy for what Fred Hoiberg gets to coach this year.
Yeah. On a given night, Mac, Dana, Izzo, Underwood would take a claw hammer to members of their team if they could, and not if they could get away with it, they would, because of the shot selection, the selfishness, and the immaturity. Meanwhile, Fred's got a whole bunch of vets that they order a martini because they like the taste, not because it's cool.
And he's been able to pull off too, having the coach's son. You always run the risk of, it's favoritism. He's just playing. Everybody on that team and everybody that watches knows that Sam has earned every second that he gets on that floor. And he has the ultimate respect of his team. So there's none of that either, because that's always a risk, right? I mean, if you're playing, if you're one of the players, if your son's playing on the team,
standards highest with your own,
that can absolutely cause some rifts and be a weird thing to navigate. But they don't have to worry about that at all because Sam earns it.
The goal wasn't a perfect season. It just happens Nebraska's played 19 games, and at the end of the 40 minutes, they're in the lead. They get to win, and we're paying attention to an 11 a.m. game at the Barn on January 24th against Minnesota. And we are, and Elijah, without little sleep, is going to drive to Ann Arbor today to go to a ball game on Tuesday night. But kind of to Bill's point about the sport, and there's a lot of people that, they show up in March and they're experts. As much as we're enjoying this, and again, they could be 20-0 today. 20-0 it comes down to a Thursday and Friday in March. And what Nebraska does in a 2-15 game or a 3-14 game. And then once you get that out of the way, if it goes Nebraska's way, then you're like, here we go. So that point is true about this particular program that hasn't won an NCAA game.
And watch, and you always worry is Nebraska going to draw a George Mason or a Gulf Coast or somebody that's like
Norfolk State
Cinderella that's Elite 8 bound.
This is we have some people might disagree with this. I think Nebraska fans are a smart fan base. I know people insert whatever. I don't know if you guys have looked, because I've been telling you, Oklahoma City, St. Louis, and Chicago, we need to get hotel rooms, get set, and start looking at tickets. So hotel rooms are going quick in Oklahoma City. There's a lot more availability in St. Louis, but the lower bowl in Oklahoma City on the secondary market for the NCAA tournament, already $500 a ticket. Oh. So Nebraska fans are like, we're going to Oklahoma City as a 2. I'm there. And you remember they took over Memphis. I should say, because I was there, took over Memphis. They're going to take over Oklahoma City. So it's January 24th. Just plan accordingly. Start looking. Be prepared, because you will see there is going to be, even with the weather up in the Twin Cities this morning. I'm seeing a couple of pictures of people that are walking into Williams Arena. There are going to be a lot of Nebraska fans again there today. And Elijah, cool. And we're going to look for Elijah on TV on Tuesday night. And don't be surprised if there's a good smattering of Nebraska fans in Ann Arbor on Tuesday night.
There were Go Big Red chants at Northwestern, right? I mean,
yeah,
led by Danny Burke because they covered.
Yeah, clear as day on the TV. You can hear it.
Did they? Okay, so I know we got to run. Do they cover today? They're a 5.5-point favorite.
No.
I've been picking against Nebraska for like 2 months now with good success, so I will say no.
Yeah,
it's superstition at this point in time. They seem to be doing well whenever I pick against them, so I say no. But
Minnesota 71, Nebraska 68.
Yeah, you're going to get some home cooking at the barn. It'll be closer than 5. Be closer than 5. How about the resilience in Nebraska too? They don't blink. I mean,
so this is all code for Nebraska drills.
They don't do that because they're a good basketball team.
Yeah. I mean,
good basketball teams don't do that.
Second half against top 10 teams, and they're just like, oh, no big deal. And just claw their way back. They've been impressive. Sharpie. If they lose, though, we should all overanalyze it and just.
We will tomorrow.
Yeah,
Sunday Live, 10:30. Iron Horses, Gary Sharp, Pride of Fairbury's Bill Doleman. Mr. Mark Kraynak is not warm, and Elijah Herbel is Ann Arbor bound.
How long is the drive?
10.5 hours, but 2 hours of that will be covered by Husker Basketball. So we'll be listening to the great Kent Pavelka and Jeff Smith.
Okay.
I think I have some hardcore history by Dan Carlin fired up, so that'll take probably like 4 hours.
You won't be able to listen to it on the Omaha affiliate for more than like 7 meters. My goodness, that signal. What are we doing? Like my car radio doesn't even land on it. Like you can't even it just skips right over it. It's like a 5 watt. It's like KRN. Sorry, not KRN is awesome, but I'm just saying the signal.
Bill's gonna get the knife out.
Avery to A Street, campus to Cornhusker. This is KRNU.
It is brutal. You can't even listen to the games.
Yeah,
you can't even listen to the game if it's at night and you're trying to tune in the Omaha affiliate. You can't.
You know what's wild? You know what's wild? I was
stream now.
I was driving.
That's
up
what they want you to do.
I was driving up to the Omaha area. Whenever Nebraska was playing against Oklahoma, remember that up at the Pentagon, and
November.
Yes, and I actually got the Oklahoma affiliate better than I got the Nebraska radio broadcast.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'm not sure how that worked because it was broadcasting from Oklahoma City, but apparently they can turn up their wattage for Oklahoma basketball games, and I was getting that loud and clear.
Yeah.
It was if you want an alternative, you can listen to KRNU2 with Eli Rodriguez and Ethan McIntoon on the call from Minneapolis today.
There it is.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, ask them what they think of their vantage point, because I've called games from there. They put you way up in the corner.
I told them to take binoculars today.
Yeah, you're like, listen to Kent today. They used to have it used to be one of the best broadcast positions because you were in kind of the catbird press box right in front of the second level. You kind of overhang the floor because they don't put you on the floor where you have to look up, because remember, we're on an elevated floor at the barn. So they move the media and they're way up in the corner. I mean, you are a long way away from the floor. So this is always one of those that Kent has some words about calling a ball game at the barn.
Grandpa's going to be cranky today. Yeah.
Do they give him a monitor or something so you could at least watch it on TV?
I've done 3 games from that location.
There's a monitor. It may or may not work.
Well, they say, hey, there's a video board way down there at center court you can look at.
Yeah. That's one of my pet peeves, by the way, monitor boards where they're showing where the
technology
vantage point,
in general.
No, where the vantage point, like if you're looking at the center, the center screens, like at a basketball game or a hockey game, and they take a shot that is actually where the human beings are actually smaller than what you can see with your naked eye. You know what I'm saying? You're just like, that completely defeats the purpose. I can see less on the screen than I can. It's just zoom in.
Well, unless you go to the Big 12 championship games at Jerry's World.
Now that was amazing. I went to the one against Oklahoma, and I don't know if I watched the field at all. You're just kind of like, you're just watching it. That was incredible.
Well, hey, when we go to Champaign this upcoming fall, they are going to have the nation's largest video board.
Is that right?
Yeah. So you know where the students sit?
Just so it can fit Brett on the big screen.
I was going to say for Fat Bert.
Yeah, they're going to have the largest screen. And then eventually Nebraska will have the largest video screen in America.
You guys remember whenever Nebraska had the largest video screen in America for like a month because then Texas made one that was 2 inches bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah, Elijah, there are, I believe, 4 people on this panel that remember when Nebraska didn't have Husker Vision. And they had this scoreboard that sat on top of the weight room in North Stadium, and it had like a pixel where they would put up the scores, or they would put up like the sponsors, and they just had the score and the down and the distance and the yard line.
Phil Sprague announcing the games in public address with Sparkomatic speakers.
Bathrooms are located behind section 10, 110.
I appreciate all the
That's
technology.
a great recall, Bill, on Phil Sprague.
Yeah.
Ball carried by Davis.
I appreciate all the accoutrements and the bells and the whistles, but I feel like Nebraska games are a little overproduced. We can maybe talk about that next time. A little overproduced, right? One of the best games I've ever been to was in Columbia. It was the rain game, where it rained for like 48 hours and Sue almost broke what's his name? Gabbert. Yeah, he almost broke Gabbert. So it rained so hard there that like electricity was a huge problem. And so they didn't even have like PA. So all you could hear was the whistles all you could hear was like the whistles from the field, from the refs. It was beautiful. You could just actually watch the game instead of like, let's now direct your attention to, hey, just like Husker football here at Cornflakes, we also, our teams work hard. You're okay. Like,
how about Mark? It's
No, I'm not going to stand for Nate Rohr slander.
Yeah,
got
him a gig with the Chiefs.
That's not Nate Rohr slander. That's just general across America. Why does every single freaking stadium?
Oh no, Elijah.
Did
you ever go to a game down in Manhattan? What they would do with the Wildcat when they would get a first down? Well, yeah, at Penn State they do that as well. But at Kansas State,
that's not real.
For a Wildcat first down.
Oh, it's crazy. No, this isn't Nate Rohr slander, but no, it's the thing. It's the especially when, and he's even doing it like when you're getting blown out by Iowa to close out the season and you're down 15. That's like just
I need more sounds of Jack Daniels being poured and more Harry Doyle.
Yeah. So
getting whacked by Iowa in the fourth quarter.
We all know Nate and we love Nate. Yeah, there is some times where it's a little bit over the top. I will agree. But I think once you've gone there, you got to stay there.
It's good energy. It's good energy.
Yeah.
And Denver, Elijah, your Donks, their PA guy's legendary. That pass is, and he lets the crowd go nuts, and it's been good.
Please.
Right.
I think you save it for
which is a big time risk, as many dispensaries are by the stadium for him to let him play along.
It's going to be a lot of those chants tomorrow at Mile High. Let it be known. Drake May, playoff environment on the road for the first time in his life. Pass rush getting after him. It's going to be a competitive game tomorrow at Mile High. You can book that one.
Was Stidham a rule guy? He wasn't he?
He was
Auburn guy, wasn't he?
He was briefly at Baylor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh no, he was a Bryles guy.
You're thinking of Charlie Brewer.
No, he was, because he was a Bryles guy, and then Bryles left. He went in the portal, but because that was still during the sit-out era. Fun fact: he actually was a scout team high school quarterback for a year, as opposed to going and playing at some garbage program. He went and was the scout team quarterback for a high school, and then transferred to Auburn and played immediately.
Okay. Anonymous, just letting the 3rd and 8 problem persist.
You know what would change your opinion?
2015.
Mr. Kraynak, what would change your opinion?
What?
Winning football games. Wins.
Well, you're right. I think that's what it is it gets annoying
when you lose.
And it's almost like the Pavlov dogs thing where you're just like, oh my God, they're playing that music again on 3rd down. And every time that happens, they give up like every time.
When it's going well, though, you have PBA energy. And
I guarantee your kid loved it against Akron. They're like, man, Dad, you could do that. And then by the Iowa game, you're like, that sucks. I hate that.
It's by association.
So can we now talk about changing the song?
Yes.
Hold on.
We have gone from 0 to 60 into the off season.
Not today.
I'm just going to text my uncle. I'm going to be late to the pickup.
I just want you to know Nebraska basketball has a chance to be 20-0 today. Okay.
You get packed up, Elijah. We'll talk to you from Ann Arbor tomorrow. The Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, Sunday Live tomorrow, 10:30. Mr. Mark Kraynak, the Pride of Fairbury's Bill Doleman, Chris Schmidt. Like and subscribe. Tell a friend. The Average Joe Sports Show YouTube. And on Twitter, AJ Sports Radio, AJ Sports Pod. We'll holler manana, 10:30. Thanks for